Good evening, everyone. We're a Save St. Francis Xavier group, and we are very interested in a building that's not very far from us. We're here at the City Council chambers just to discuss the hopes and dreams for the St. Francis Xavier School building. It's a 30,000 square foot empty school building. And as we progress, the camera will show you images, but it's the building with all the children in front. The gym that you see there with the Montana basketball team is the gym inside of that building. The rest of the campus is the St. Francis Xavier campus as you see it from Pine Street. That poster is a poster of the Loyola building, and then you can see the rectory and the church. And then as we pan to the next poster, you can see the school building with the children out in front of the auditorium side, and that's looking at it from Spruce Street. And then as we go along, you can see the poster of the basketball team is taken inside St. Francis Xavier Gym, and then on the right is the overlay or the view from above of the campus with the church on the right, the rectory in the middle, the Loyola building on the left, and then above them all is the very large St. Francis Xavier School building with gym, auditorium, and it's quite a campus, and it's been recently nominated by the State Historic Preservation Review Board for consideration for the National Register. Its documents have been forwarded to the keeper of the National Register. I have with me two people. I'll let them introduce themselves. James Weir is with the AFL-CIO. James?
Yeah, I'm part of the AFL-CIO, Montana State AFL-CIO, that is, and particularly working for a program called Project Challenge Work Again, which uses federal monies to help people who've been laid off from their jobs either retrain for a new one or relocate for a new one, or just to help them get back into paid employment and give them support while they're going through this. It's a traumatic event for most people, but that's what I do in my day job.
Well, thank you, James. And on my left is Steve Loken. Steve is a builder, and I saw a motto in Steve's office the other day that I think a lot of us would like a lot, and that's, well, I'll let you quote it, Steve.
I'm trying to remember which motto you said.
Well, the motto says, I'm sorry, but the motto says historic preservation, the ultimate recycling.
Yeah, I'm a builder here in Missoula for about 23 years, and have been involved in a lot of restoration work and doing a lot of salvage and reuse of existing materials and buildings, and concentrating on energy efficiency. I've been on the Historic Preservation Advisory Commission board here in Missoula for about 6 years, and I've always felt that the highest and best use of energy materials is in existing buildings.
I suspect maybe somebody did the figures, but it must be huge when a person thinks of, say, the amount of, say, if you just imagined St. Francis Xavier School being taken down, the amount of dump trucks and the amount of energy, human and physical energy, petroleum, et cetera, resources to take that building down.
Well, there's this enormous amount of embodied energy that went into the making of the bricks and the lumber and the glass in that building, and it's all there. And with simple retrofits for today's energy costs, it's certainly worth hanging onto that shell and making it an improved central part of the community.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. That's what we are going to do for you today is to share with you some very interesting video footage that we discovered that tells the story of the Prescott House. And it starts with some footage of downtown Missoula in the early days. So you'll be seeing the Missoula Mercantile, the interior of the old Glacier, or I shouldn't say, it's of the Glacier Hotel, And so you'll pick the buildings out as they go by. So we'll cut to that now, and then come back to you fairly quickly when you've gotten a chance to review some of that material on the video. Thanks for watching. We are the Xavier Foundation. We are involved in saving St. Francis Xavier School. Thank you very much. We'll be right back in a few minutes, very few minutes.
Clarence Prescott's house, and he grew up here. His family lived in the house. It was built in the late 1890s.
How's that going, Emily?
And it's pretty good shape here. We're working on this porch area to get it fixed up, and really that's the only major problems to this house right now at this point. The building is pretty structurally sound. There's only a few cracks in the interior. All the woodwork is all original and has been retained, hasn't been painted. The wallpaper upstairs was put in the house by Clarence's mother back in the early 1900s. The house is a Queen Anne style house, and it's listed on the National Register of Historic Places. This house used to sit on 40 acres of property here.
Homesteaded this place. Well, I wasn't very old, but I remember going over there with my folks and looking down in the hall where they was putting in for the basement of the main hall.
What year were you born?
1893,
Oh yeah. What month?
May 1st,
So you'll be 98.
7.
Oh, you'll be 98 then next year.
I'm 97 now.
Oh, okay. Clarence, so you weren't born in this house right here, were you?
Oh, I was born down near the homestead house. See, my father homesteaded this place.
Uh-huh. Where was the homestead house located?
Well, they took it out when the university got it in there, and they they've got a kind of a parking lot in there now. The first recollection I have of this place was that it was all an orchard and it was all producing. That was the first thing I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Apples, pears, cherries, plums, currants, gooseberries, raspberries, strawberries. So when I got old enough, why I had to do a lot of cherry picking and.
Well, we're back. We're with you. You did get to see some of those early Missoula, and it leads us to the consideration of this wonderful Prescott house. Steve here was involved in the early efforts to rehabilitate that building. Steve, can you think back a little bit with us of those days and that porch that was falling away from the building?
Yeah, it was an interesting time. The university was on a trajectory to demolish the building, relocate Clarence Prescott, and put a high-rise, I think we're talking about a dormitory there or something. And I was on the Historic Preservation Advisory Commission at the time, and we talked to Clarence. We spent actually a lot of time almost doing an oral history with Clarence about the fact that his father had built the house. He was born and raised in the house, one of those early Missoula fixtures, but kind of life locked in time there. And he was a neat old guy, and he loved his garden and did a lot of work on his garden. And as, of course, the house was large and became slowly falling apart because there was very little maintenance involved by him or the university in keeping it up, he was well over 95, I think, when we first met him, and started talking to him about his childhood and raising his family there. But when we saw the building, we realized that deferred maintenance had really made a significant difference into the integrity of the building and the materials. So we got a volunteer group together, I don't know, it's 12 or 15 people, and started mostly concentrated on the front porch because that was the one that was actually a hazard. It was in danger of falling down and threatening safety. So Clarence was out there with us with a straw hat on and helping kind of guide what we were doing and looking at and being interested in how we were trying to repair and restore the building. And that operation actually just created an awareness in the community for history, buildings, his life, the heritage and history of the community. And I remember we brought a load of compost, or eco compost, to his garden that day, and he was very interested in that because his one big life goal in that time was to make sure his garden had good fertility to it. At that point, he kind of didn't really care about the house too much. He was old, and the house kept him warm in the winter and cool in the summer. He had no real skills or ability to fix the house, and he was very pleased that we were taking the initiative to try to restore the place and keep it active for him.
Yes, and that is, as you say, from your memory and from our viewing of that video and from what you'll be seeing, folks, you will see that joy in this quite elderly gentleman who lived, I think, to be over 100 years old, or very near to 100, I should say, but in that area. And he has a way of kind of capturing you when he's on camera, and you will see him, this wonderful gentleman. And on this next segment that you'll be seeing, you will see Charles Jonkel, who's really works in the grizzly bear area. In fact, Charles couldn't be with us tonight because he's out in the field as we speak. He's a biologist. But the points he makes that how you can get almost an overnight push to demolish something, this suddenness, even National Historic Sites are in danger sometimes of being lost. But people do care, and so we'll just let you make your own mind up as you view the Prescott House, and as you hear Charles Jonkel's voice. But thank you for being with us. We're Save St. Francis Xavier. We'll cut over to the video of the Prescott House preservation efforts.
There's one. I think it's great that people are working here on it. I've been very interested in this building for a long time. I thought it's wonderful way the institution has to make this big hook in the highway going around for the benefit of one person. And it's been a great inconvenience for a lot of people, I know, but I think that's one of the beauties of our society, that somebody can have a right like that. Oh, I'm also interested in the place because of its historic value and the gardens and the trees that are here, which I think are, should remain a part of the university. But I've been very fearful that once Mr. Prescott isn't here, that there'll be one of these overnight pushes to trash the place and the gardens and put in parking lot, sort of the way they trashed the Venture Center. We waited until the break, the summer break, when nobody's around, and I talked to some of the crew at that time, and they were told to work real early in the morning, work as fast as they could, because they wanted to get it done before anybody came around who would say anything. That was a National Historic Site too, and it was literally was trashed while people were gone on vacation and such. And I've been fearful that what might happen here. And so I think by the community and even the students at the university and caring enough to come over and work is wonderful, because it'll show that people do care, and that it does have another use besides being more blacktop. I had some interest in the trees and also the garden. I think there are some varieties there that may be of historic nature, and they should be, I think, preserved simply because this is the oldest farm this side of the river, and who knows what might be there that should be saved. And I think it's a very important historic part of the campus, as well as the town and the area, that shouldn't be just dealt with in a bureaucratic way. I think it'd be wonderful, for example, to have a little center here. There could be food, there could be food production, all the kinds of things like that I see neglected would be, I think, wonderful to do at a liberal arts university where you have that kind of thought around it. If an agricultural school can have a department of English, why can't we have something to do with agriculture here?
Well, hello again. That's some enjoyable footage, and we've enjoyed it too. And in fact, Steve Loken here with us actually enjoyed making it. You'll be seeing more of Steve as we go on, but if you look in the background, you'll see Steve Loken in the background, and so and you'll see him up front too soon in that video. But here we are. Save St. Francis Xavier School and the Xavier Foundation. We're groups that, while we were, these two groups are founded recently. Actually, the preservation efforts on the St. Francis Xavier campus have gone on for quite some years, 25 in the range of 25 years, because that's when the efforts to preserve the church, to keep those paintings from being lost in the church. Some of them were falling on the floor. We lost the Annunciation on the floor, and that's a repainting. That is a repainted painting at this point. We lost Brother Carignano's original painting. That'd make a great program sometime, just the story of that church and the marvelous, what a marvelous church it is, and what a marvelous literally national treasure, National Historic Site, of course. So our phone number, 531-2394. You're watching this on MCAT, and your programming will be, you'll be seeing it either Tuesday, the 28th at 9 p.m. or Thursday, the 30th of September at 4 p.m. So those are the opportunities. We have a website, www.xavierfoundation.net. Hope you have a chance to go there and take a look.
Can I just say one thing, Tom?
I'm going to cut over to James Weir. Excuse me.
I think one of the things that I got out when I watched this video was what can be done with committed volunteer effort and people getting involved. It saved the Prescott House. And Clarence Prescott himself, I think you'll have heard him say that there'd be a ruckus if they pulled down his house. So even he realized the historic importance and the necessity of preserving it. And if you are wanting to preserve the St. Francis Xavier campus, get involved, because it's the only way that we will make our voice heard and keep the community and keep its historical roots.
Yeah. It's those that have lived here a long time. We treasure what we have, and we understand that Montana and Missoula specifically they're not a place with a ton of money, and we just hope that we can take care and keep going with what we have. So we'll get you back on over to, and oral history was mentioned, so this will be some of the oral history that we discuss, that we proceed with here, where Clarence talks to us there, and so we'll cut on over to the video now.
The way the university is, they would like to get rid of it, or some of them would. And as they tear this place down, there'd be an awful racket around. Not for me, but I'll be gone.
Well, we need to develop a new kind of interest, a new kind of appreciation that is lacking in so many aspects of our society, where the experts in particular things run the whole show, everyone else is locked out. Well, in this case, what I see here happening is certainly the experts here helping and giving their viewpoints and helping make decisions, but also it's open to other people, whether they're a photographer, artist, a poet, or whatever, to have their say and their input and their comments and values considered. What I see is people's values neglected in these sort of things. Very, very important values by other kinds of people, because it's they're not an agricultural expert or a film expert or something, but they have a value for what's going on, whether it's wildlife, whether it's gardening, whether it's farming. That needs to be integrated in our society and needs to be integrated into decisions. To have, just a campus engineer make decisions on what should become his property terrifies me, because I don't think the campus engineer would understand things like the historical values of the trees, the historical aspect of the old Prescott farm, and all that sort of thing. And the poetry and artistic things that are included in such of a thing that has occurred here. Mr. Prescott, is history still happening? Really, that's very important to this, and I think the mix of people here is, in effect, history happening too. Because I see western Montana as a place isolated from what's going on in the world. It hadn't happened here yet, but it's going to happen here. We can see a lot of things in Montana the way they were and the way they should be. Other people can dream about it and maybe try to recreate it, but we've got it right here yet, and we haven't yet trashed it. And still, it seems like on a day-to-day basis, that's what we want to do is trash it. And I see a resistance to that trend here, and I love it, personally. It's like right near where we got the eco-compost, there is an old compost pile here. It could be possibly related to the old barn, too. It could be a trash area from the garden, I don't know what, but certainly a richer spot of soil right in here. Some of those fruit trees in the back are the ones that really interest me. They were probably here since the beginning of the Prescott farm, which is the ancient history of this valley as far as white settlement is concerned. Some of those old varieties just don't exist anymore. They've disappeared everywhere. Nobody bothered to save them. I don't know what these might be. That area over against the hill there is a perfect example where I think we could, not only maintain the Prescott Gardens, but do some interesting experiments in terms of gardening in western Montana. My grandmother was from Europe, and she did a lot of terracing in her garden in Wisconsin. It was amazing what she grew there versus what other people grew there, because she practiced terracing. And I think western Montana has got some real possibilities. It's the sort of thing that I think we could do here, and we could think of at the university versus depending on somebody from an agricultural school too. They're not going to mess with those sorts of side issues and more or less esoteric questions that I think that come up all the time here because of the mix of people we have at Olympic University.
Where you want us to put it?
I know.
Nice little before that way we can.
It's a good load.
Oh, no. Can I use your phone?
Go ahead, you can find it.
Okay.
In the living room?
I know where it's at.
But we just need to find out, are you ready?
Yeah.
I got a rope in my truck.
I don't think
Straight out of there. Oh, that's all right there.
All right. We'll,
But out there.
yeah, that's Candy's truck. We'll move that when the eco-compost comes.
You can park any place right there.
Okay. Well, let's,
But in here,
yeah, we got to move those.
You do recognize there on that short video segment that we showed you there that you'll recognize Steve Loken, a builder extraordinaire here in Missoula, talking to Clarence Prescott, and so we'll pass this on. It was mentioned earlier that Clarence had called in for these it was an eco-compost, and that got Clarence talking some about the types of manure and how they bring weeds. And hasn't that turned out to be when this video was originally shot in 1990? I don't think any of us realized how much his words, how visionary his words were, of concern about the weeds coming in, because now they really are plaguing us. So as we go on in this video, you will see the work crews, and I'll pass it on back. Steve, you're on the screen some here, and do you feel like maybe you looked a little younger then, or?
Yeah, I did look a lot younger. It was a great work party, and everybody had a good time. Clarence, I think, was kind of overwhelmed by the interest of people in his house and in his own history. he was just kind of living there quietly. Not a lot of people stopped by or paid much attention to him. He was kind of locked in time. The university was going on, students were driving by, going to campus, to school, and nobody ever paid much attention to Clarence. So this was kind of an overwhelming thing for him to know that he was an interesting kind of living artifact in the community.
Yeah, we just got in on a little Clarence story, and I expect everybody has a Clarence story of some sort or another, but he was sitting there apparently getting ready to wing a couple squirrels or something. Unfortunately, he was sitting there with a .22 rifle across his lap, and here's the UC Center in the background. So they pointed out that, and I think Clarence was a reasonable person, and he decided on some other way of dealing with the squirrels. But the point is made, and we'll cut over here to the video again. But and didn't that interest you, James? That commentary about the wooden houses being able to actually last hundreds of years.
Yeah, but I think the important thing is that it said it qualified it by proper maintenance. And you can see from the video very clearly what happens if there is no maintenance and upkeep put into it. And I think if you're going to preserve a building, to avoid having the massive work crew that was on the Prescott House and all the work they had to do and all the renovation and the rebuilding, I think if you keep a building that's going to be preserved in good condition, I think it's essential. It saves an awful lot of money and time and effort for people.
Well, we do know the building we're trying to save. We know it has some roof leaks, some roof leaking and bucket work going on in the gym there, and some roof leaking going on in the room that's directly above the kitchen, actually to the point that the water goes through the floor and down onto the kitchen floor on the main floor. And so a lot of you viewers out there, a lot of us remember those buildings in full use when the Catholic schools were in them, and when they had lots of activity as a community center. And Steve, I guess they've called that the Battle of the Roof. Can you tell us about buildings and roofs a little bit?
Well, roofs, as James was saying, roofs definitely need to be maintained, and of course water's the building's worst enemy, whether it's in ground contact with the wood or if it comes in from the roof. And best way to stabilize a building, of course, is to make sure that the integrity of the roof is good, so the water and snow and ice don't get inside and start working the building apart and rotting it out.
That's okay. So 48. So a roof is absolutely essential, and good eaves and good protection, especially for a wood house like the Prescott House.
Yeah, absolutely. There's wooden churches in Norway that have been around for over 700 years, but they're well taken care of, and they have stone foundations, but the wood will last if it's taken care of, and this Prescott House was just not taken care of very well.
Well, that's an especially good point, too, about the because we have a climate similar to Norway.
Yeah.
So we're talking cold weather that preserves wood. That's important because the framing in that St. Francis Xavier building is the joists and stuff are wood. Mm-hmm. I think they're first growth fir.
I'm sure those were first growth ponderosa yellow pine in the Bitterroot Valley that were sawn for those joists, as we found in many other older buildings in Missoula.
They're apparently a very tight wood.
Oh, it's very slow growth, good heartwood, very strong.
Very strong, mm-hmm. and good for many hundreds of years with care. Care. And so, but let's go on with our video, because in this next segment, it's the hopes for preservation, this idea of this wonderful university community we live in with this, the point is made, this mix of intellects, this appreciative mix of old and new.
Well, that's good. That's
You can talk to me, Steve.
it's good that that's working out.
Yeah.
Hello.
Take the right one, the original names, the Jackson.
Yeah, there's one right here. There's one right here. This one we call It's over there.
You want the ratchet?
You see it? Oh, here it is. No. There's one there too, I think. There was one over here, but I don't see it. That's one. That's buried in there. Even if more things need to be done.
Eudemus.
See when we jack on it.
Okay, what we got to do, Rick, is move it over so we can come up and get it. That's what we need to do.
Okay.
A little more digging there to push everything over.
Okay.
Yes, there. See what you got. Problem.
Now, this is Bolivian mahogany, Bill. How's the release work on this?
Let me check. Bolivian mahogany. I got it from some scraps for some windows that we're building. You going down now?
That's what I want to do.
Whoop.
No, that's up.
Oh, I thought you were down. No, it should go down.
There you go.
Design construction.
Okay.
And your jacks
You got the
here.
little shovel there, Kenny?
Oh, you need more?
Any shovel here.
So we, once again, we are the Xavier Foundation. We are Save St. Francis Xavier, 531-2394. The website, www.xavierfoundation.net. And you've seen, and as you watch, as you view the video, you've become familiar with those workers of, you might say, of yesteryear in a way, 15 years ago. Many of us, as you view the credits, you'll see that many of those same people, Steve Loken is right here with us, Charles Jonkel, James McDonald, many others are with us in the long term. And Mavis McKelvey, I just talked to the other day, and she had done a lot of the, work in the files to find out about the Prescott property. But so, Steve, we really appreciate that you've come to visit us, knowing that you're in the busiest season of your life. The building, when it's, I guess for builders, this is what they call make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah, well, it's an important issue, I think, for Missoula. We get so caught up in new buildings and new highways that I think few people recognize that this is a core of the old city of Missoula as it first started out. And churches were important to the early development of Missoula, and the core of these buildings and close to the, the downtown where we have mature trees lining our streets. It's a beautiful part. We respect and love our downtown, and this is a key element of that. And I think that as the context of Missoula changes, there should be some things that can be readapted. Their use can be readapted to other things, but they really do give a sense of identification, a sense of identity and character to our community. And the West doesn't have, 200 and 300-year-old buildings like the East does, and many people that have been to New England and places like that know that the identity of those towns and communities really is with the buildings and the architecture. And the few places that we have out west, and particularly the few that we have here in Missoula, really ought to be recognized for what they were at the time. And if they can be reused, readaptedly reused, and left in place, that I think is the best way to honor your community and its history and culture.
Well, boy, thanks a lot, Steve. Thank you for being here. We do appreciate you're coming by and you know, helping us out on the broad view of this, and especially with your work earlier. We see you with the transit on the video at a point, and those are fun moments, and it's good to look back too, and see a young Steve Logan.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the opportunity to help keep the awareness going for Missoula's architectural heritage.
Well, and it
Thanks,
is,
Steve.
yeah,
Thank you.
and it is reassuring to know that you're still the same young Steve Logan. So, thank you. Thanks so much. Take care. We'll keep in touch.
69 and a half. And go to your right a little bit, Candy, so I can see the tape.
Look, the guard's much better.
It's right where your elbow is. Your left elbow, your left wrist. Ah. Okay, that doesn't have to come. Get a big house jack over here and separately jack up that whole thing. How are we going to be? We take that off too.
Well, already the place is looking wonderfully restored just by straightening things out. To see all the wooden foundations had rotted, and the porch was, you know, practically dragging in the ground and rotting very fast. That's a problem with wooden houses that aren't maintained. If they're maintained, they can be around for hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of years. But if they're not maintained, they can go to pieces pretty rapidly, and that was certainly happening here. Unfortunately, I think the work that's being done now is being done just in the nick of time. It was just at the point where, you know, major architectural parts of the building were going to break in half, and they're very difficult to restore them. It's university property, and Mr. Prescott has the right to live in it until he's not here anymore. And that's a neat thing we can do under our laws, and that's why the house is here now. Because the university has had it for a long, long time. They own it, but he's had the right to live here. I think that the reason that the university hasn't maintained the house is it's sort of a thing that's all captured in the phrase self-fulfilling prophecy. If you want something to happen, you just don't do things that prevent it from happening, and at some point then it happens. And I think without hurting Mr. Prescott, you know, the house was being allowed to rot and fall apart, and this work party there is reversing that, and it'll help, I think, to change people's mind about the preservation of the place. It certainly could be done, but I'm sure it isn't in the engineering master plan. But it could be, and it should be, I think. Part of what makes the University of Montana unique, I think, is that people do things like this and preserve things that wouldn't have happened otherwise, because we have this mix of intellects here that people end up doing different things differently than would have just under a sort of a mundane situation. The mix of the old wood and the new, I'm sure some historic preservationists would object to that a lot, but you know, if you're going to lose it versus restore part of it and maintain it all, and you have to take a shortcut of this sort, I think it's justified.
Afternoon's pleasurable painting.
I didn't say that, but I will.
So how many we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I think I'd direct people's attention to watching the video that the end caption states the case for preservation and the ultimate reason for this foundation. And I think it states it in very concise terms, and I'd like you all to look at it very carefully when it comes up on the screen.
Yes. Yes, as James says, you'll be seeing some printed statements that are very worthy of reading, and then you'll also see, as the video rolls, you'll see all those early workers on that Prescott process. I might mention that the Prescott House is in use this month by Families First, as an example, or the use that's planned is an outdoor meeting, a friendly barbecue meeting with a band, and just for fun. A talk with Eric Hayes, speaking to the group, Coach Eric Hayes of Hellgate, and who has contributed so much to our university and to our young people over the years, and has himself raised a family here. So we're just very hopeful about our St. Francis Xavier building. I think one of the hopeful things is that the cost of demolition actually exceeds the cost of getting it back in pretty good working order with some roof repairs and a boiler. The cost of demolition is greater. And
I think I'd just like to say that what this video shows to me is that preservation is not a new concept. It's been done before. It's a very visible part of preservation of the Missoula landscape. And it can be done, and it has been done before.
It's that's a very good point, because we have the National Register, not only the Prescott House, but many other buildings on our university campus and many other buildings that we live and work in here in Missoula. If we just pause and take a look at that plaque as we go in and see what it says. Interestingly, what the one says on the Prescott House, it speaks of that Dennis Washington assisted and in the renovation. It was through the kindness of the Washingtons, of Dennis and Phyllis, and Dennis actually dedicated the work to his wife Phyllis, who was at the university in '64. Phyllis Peterson Washington. So that tells us how that footage, or that plaque tells us how the original Clarence Prescott homesteaded there in 1891, planted a large orchard of plum, cherry, pear, and apple trees, replaced his log dwelling with a Queen Anne-style residence in 1898 that was modeled after the childhood home of his wife, who was a school teacher from Pennsylvania, wife Julia. And so the Prescott House links us not just to our past, but to our agricultural past, because it was one of the early homesteads. And so that way we can identify with, and in the same sense, interestingly, the St. Francis Xavier School building is part of the St. Francis Xavier campus, known as the Catholic Block or the Historic District of St. Francis Xavier, and that building links us not only to the founding of the first church in Montana, that was founded for other than Native people. All the early churches here were Catholic churches, at least, were founded for Native people, and so Father Ravalli founded St. Michael Mission out in Hellgate, which was then moved to the site of the present St. Francis Xavier campus, and later St. Francis Xavier Church followed. And of course, Father Ravalli dates right directly to the town of Ravalli and the county of Ravalli, and to the Owens Fort and Stevensville area, where St. Mary Mission was part of the beginnings of Montana more than 150 years ago. I might mention that from the missionary standpoint, that actually one of the Jesuit missions is just this month celebrating its 150th anniversary at St. Ignatius. So as a point that the video makes is that history is actually now, it's happening now, and here we all are. We're living history. I guess I'm starting to feel like a part of history myself, since I can talk about World War II as a personal memory. But I guess don't forget Xavier Foundation, www.xavierfoundation.net, 531-2394. Save St. Francis Xavier is who we are. We very much appreciate the time you've taken with us tonight. We hope you've enjoyed the archival footage from the Missoula Historic Commission about the Prescott House. And I certainly thank James Weir and Steve Loken for their assistance tonight.
Thanks, Don.
And we'll see you all next time. Greatly appreciate your viewing. Thank you.